If you had your memories erased and were transported into a small area surrounded by a 360 degrees maze with deadly creatures on the inside preventing you from escaping, would you know how to survive? In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to beat the maze from the Maze Runner. The movie starts off with a strange elevator transporting a confused white boy. No, not this dude, but this dude. His name is Thomas and he's the main character of the movie. The best thing I can recommend for Thomas is to stay calm, because if you're all panicky, it's not going to help you think rationally in the future. Plus, panicking isn't going to get you out of an elevator. When Thomas's elevator reaches the top, there's a group of boys standing around him as the elevator opens. They're all giggling and laughing kind of creepily. These group of boys are known as the Gladers, and they all had their memories erased and transported by this elevator to the Glade in the same method Thomas did. After getting hauled out of the elevator, he immediately starts to run away from the group. Obviously, they didn't initially hurt you, so I strongly suggest you save your energy and don't run away, because where are you going to run to? You don't even know what's around you. So let's quickly go over the Glade location. It's a forested area that includes farmland and a small stream, so it has plenty of food and water, but it's surrounded 360 degrees by tall walls that make up the maze. There's also a few shelters that keep you safe and are also used for meetings, and there's no visible predators in the area, so overall it seems like a pretty good location to stay in. We learn in the movie that there's several jobs you can occupy inside the Glade, whether it's the builders, the people in charge of building the shelters, the farmers, the people in charge of farming shit, and the runners, the people in charge of running in and out of the maze looking for a way out and mapping it out. However, there is one obvious job that you don't want to take, and that is being a runner, because the runner is the only occupation that can technically get you killed in the beginning of the movie. We'll quickly see exactly why you don't want to be a runner, because the only way you can die is if you get stung by one of the creatures inside the maze. And Ben, one of the former runners, gets stung and he goes all apeshit and insane. The boys send Ben back into the maze basically to kill him, but what I don't understand is why they didn't just study him and wait for the virus to play its full course. They don't know what a fully infected person looks like, so it doesn't hurt to watch for the symptoms and then kill him after. Now this is the point where I'm trying to make clear, I'm only pointing out plot holes inside the movie. I'm not focusing on the novels or the books or any of the short stories that come with the Maze Runner. Thomas, as soon as he gets inside the maze, starts trying to figure out how he can get out, which I think is a great approach. A lot of these boys actually gave up and they're content with staying in the maze the rest of their lives. So Thomas asks, is there a way we can just climb to the top of the maze and escape? The guy he's talking to immediately replies that
the ivy doesn't go all the way to the top. And besides, where are you going to go from there?
However, unlike what the boy said, we could see there's ivy clearly extending to the top of the wall on the left side. We can also see that they've invented ladders and other similar contraptions that they could easily use to reach the top of the maze wall. That's not even to mention that from this clip here, you can see that it's really easy to climb this ivy. It's very sturdy and can easily support the weight of 1 to 2 people. We can see that this diagram I drew here, that once you are able to get to the top of the maze, you should be able to walk across the top to an exit. Of course, there'd be a long drop, but we can also see that the boys have technology invented that would create a sturdy rope allowing you to rappel yourself down. Now let's take a quick look at the second thing the boy claims.
The box won't go back down with someone in it.
That is absolutely true. The box won't go down with someone in it, but that doesn't stop you from using a rock or any sort of heavy object to smash a hole in the bottom. The bottom is made out of steel mesh, which actually isn't too hard to break through. From there, you can use that powerful rope I showed you earlier and just rappel yourself down. However, there's a chance you'll meet some unhappy scientists, and maybe this isn't the best solution. Later in the movie, we see 2 runners go inside the maze to go look for Ben. I don't know what they're looking for. Are they looking for his corpse? Are they looking for his trail? Anyways, if you're in this situation, try to advise them to not go look for Ben. It's so pointless. Instead, I would suggest taking some time out to map the maze. However, the day comes to an end and the 2 runners haven't returned back. And if you didn't already know, at nighttime all those little spider monsters come out and fucking kill you, so you can't stay in the maze an entire night. Right before the maze doors are about to close, however, we see Minnow, one of the runners, dragging the other runner, Albie, back. It's super obvious that if Minnow keeps trying to drag Albie, they're never gonna make it. So Minnow, instead of releasing Albie and running to save himself, decides to sacrifice himself with Albie. If you were in this situation, I would suggest dropping the other person and making it out, because it's better 1 person dead than 2. However, Thomas knows that he's the main character of the movie, so after he sees Minnow deciding to sacrifice himself, he decides to run into the maze with them to die together. I don't know why you would ever do this. You know less about the maze than everyone there, so the odds of you actually making out of this alive if you do that is basically 0. The 2 friends then decide to try to save their injured friend by tying him high up in some vines. In the movie, it ends up working. However, I think this is very stupid. Think about it, if they were just 1 second later, they both would have gotten eaten by the spider. The spider already injected the friends with an incurable death venom, so the odds of him dying is 100% at this point in the movie. So they're basically trying to save a dead man. However, right before they can get him to the high point of the vines, Minnow runs away because he sees a spider. Thomas, like a dumbass he is, decides to stay behind. However, he does find a cool place to hide. If I were in this situation, I would just continue hiding in that place till daylight and the spiders leave. There's no reason to go and run around. However, Thomas decides instead of hiding in a place where spiders obviously can't see him, he needs to run around in the maze that's completely closed off. Why not please just stay in the hiding spot till morning? Through the power of love, friendship, and movie logic, everyone is able to make it out of the maze alive. Now here is where we meet the first special ed person in the Glade. His name is Gally, and he obviously has some mental issues. He's like a dumb conservative uncle that's so obsessed with keeping his family white, even though his daughter's fucking a black guy. He wants to punish you for breaking the rules even though you saved everyone inside the maze. Well, he's a certified #1 dumbass. I would suggest rallying everyone together and maybe trying to vote him out of the Glade. Because the leader is injured right now, you could step up and assume a leadership position. However, just then the box returns and it's come up with another person. This time, however, it's a girl and she's labeled with the last one ever. Obviously, this doesn't signal good things because if it's the last person ever, you're inevitably going to run out of people. Later in the movie, Thomas and friends go back into the maze to investigate the spider thingy that they had killed earlier. The spider thingies are called Grievers if I didn't mention that already. They really want to see if they can get any hints or clues based on what this Griever has. Investigating the Griever, in my opinion, is actually a great idea. He's one of your first hints you ever got and might be one of the last hints you ever get. However, I don't agree. Why do you have to stick your entire hand to touch the fucking Griever? This part doesn't make sense to me because you don't know if its blood carries any of the venom or it's acidic like in the Alien movie or anything like that. Instead, use the fucking sticks you brought with you. Why bring a stick if you're not going to use it? They end up pulling this weird tracker looking thingy out of the spider and just leaving with it. Instead, I would suggest taking all of the scrap metal. You never know if you could make a new weapon such as a spear with these metal scraps. Turns out, however, they pulled the best part of the Griever they could possibly pull. It's basically a key that the Griever uses to exit and enter the maze. So later, Thomas and Minnow go and try to leave the maze, and they actually find an exit. However, they get scanned and basically there's a security threat causing all the Reavers to be released. So that night, there's basically an all-out attack on the Glade, and this is where most people die, because all the spiders get released into the camp and a bunch of kids start running around and shit. So I'm gonna give you some tips on how you could potentially survive this. Tip number 1, stay grouped with a large amount of people. In this movie, a lot of people get picked off from the spiders because the spiders often go for people who are alone. Instead, stay with the largest group possible because even if you do get grabbed, there's a chance someone could free you. Tip number 2, always head for a place that's rather sheltered or at least will camouflage you. If you're in the middle of a field, a spider's gonna run you down and fucking kill you. If you're in the middle of a cornfield, chances are the corn will blend you in and they'll go for a more accessible victim. We can obviously see that the spiders are afraid of fire because when the girl throws a Molotov cocktail at it, the spider starts wailing in pain. So one last ditch effort if you're about to be cornered is to set the entire forest and field on fire. This could drive away the spiders for a day. And the final solution that I don't think any of these kids thought of is simply climb up in a tree. We can see there's a large forested area with trees and you got quite a long prior warning, and the spiders are going to be going after other people. So this will give you plenty of time to climb a tree and stay quiet. The spider will go after more accessible victims. But there is one more, actually even better idea that I forgot to think of until now. You could just be like Gally and stay inside the box. The box is reinforced with wired mesh and is underground, so the spiders probably won't even notice you. After the Reaver attack, the boys finally try to make a run for it. However, they're confronted by Gally, who wants to sacrifice them to the Grievers in order to maintain peace within the maze. He's obviously gone crazy, and I suggest either killing him or leaving him behind. And you'll see later in the movie why killing him was probably the better idea. The boys then split into two factions, one side that stays with Gally back inside the Glade, and the other side that stays with Thomas and tries to escape. I would definitely choose the escaping side, because staying in the maze is the same thing as dying, because the Grievers are obviously going to come back. So the boys go to the exit, and instead of sneaking to the exit, they decide to charge in yelling as loud as they can. In this situation, you could have easily saved yourself a lot more time and a lot less fighting, and maybe a lot more lives, if you had simply stayed quiet and tried to sneak past the Grievers, rather than yelling and attracting all the Grievers within the maze. Thomas also makes the dumbass decision of getting the most important thing in the entire group to Chuck. Chuck is the little fat fuck that can't do anything correctly. In fact, he even ends up almost dropping the key over the cliff. If he drops that key over the cliff or messes up a little bit, then you're all dead. After figuring out the code and sealing the door, they finally make their escape. They're in this weird hallway and they're walking around. Here they see a pre-recorded video of some random scientist explaining what they were a part of. I would definitely be skeptical of this situation. The group are about to leave the facility until they see Gally. He's been stung by a Griever and armed with a pistol, so he wants to kill them. Obviously, in this situation, the first thing you'd think to do is use the Minnow spear and throw it through Gally's chest, just as Minnow did in the movie, but we know this isn't the best idea because Gally gets one final shot and ends up killing Chuck. Instead, I use that spear and aim it at his hand and try to knock the gun out of his hand. After he's disarmed, you as a group can take him down and kill him. And that's it. That's how you could hypothetically beat the Maze Runner. Incorporate these tips next time you're stuck inside a death maze. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment what movie you want next.